Good morning and welcome to A Better World with Julann and Fran. I'm Julann.
And I am Fran, and today we have certified hypnotherapist and massage therapist Chris McKenna joining us. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Could you talk a little bit about what it is that you do to make the world a better place?
Right now, what I'm doing is I'm actually going to be creating a YouTube channel that is going to be a resource for the LGBT community and those experiencing faith crisis so they can have access to hypnotherapy and some guided journaling prompts so they can get the therapy that they might desire, despite the fact that they might have other barriers in place that might make healthcare inaccessible.
Very nice.
That is very nice. It's different too. Can you explain what a faith crisis is?
What a faith crisis is when someone decides to leave their faith of origin for various reasons. It could be disagreement with the way their faith of origin is behaving institutionally. It could be doctrinal or theological disagreements, something like that. And then as they begin to challenge that, there becomes this search to almost find something to replace that belief or just kind of process any feelings that might go along with those disagreements, like anger, frustration, hurt, things like that.
Oh, wow. That's really different. That's great. Um, is there any particular faith that you espouse?
Right now, I would still say I'm exploring myself because of my own faith crisis after leaving Mormonism. Um, it took a while for me personally to get into a space where I felt like I could not only express my frustrations with the LDS Church, but really begin to look at Christianity as a whole in a positive light again, because it everything kind of came in layers for me, where I went from Mormon to Episcopalian to practicing witchcraft to completely questioning everything and wondering if any of it is even valid, going into almost a nihilistic type space. And I just want to make that process a lot gentler for others than it was for me.
I can imagine that would be a terrible thing to have to go through with everything else that you're going through. You know what I mean? Everyday troubles that we all have to have something so heavy weighing on you. It must be nice. Do you do the hypnotherapy and the massage therapy? Can you do it at once? Like, do you do half and half, or do you have something like that that you would do both to help someone, or are they separate?
They are separate. I'm actually going to be taking a break from doing massage while I take care of some chronic health issues that make that um, impractical to do as a full time career. But I'm open to maybe incorporating that again because that is something that I have done with clients, but it's more of when I do Western style body work, like Swedish or deep tissue massage, because it's stationary versus when I'm doing shiatsu or Thai massage. Um, it's almost like an assisted yoga session. So trying to hypnotize someone isn't necessarily practical when I'm on your glutes and I'm pulling you into cobra pose, for example.
I can imagine. Mm.
And what is shiatsu?
Shiatsu is a Japanese form of massage that combines assisted stretching, compression with finger pressure over the acupuncture points of the body. Finger pressure is actually literally what shiatsu translates to in English.
Oh, that's very interesting. Now going back to the faith crisis, when you realized that Mormonism wasn't working for you personally, did you lose any people?
I wouldn't say that, well, my family relationships did get a little bit complicated for a while. They were very strained, but I didn't cut anybody off. I did have a lot of LDS friends that we just kind of like didn't really have a discussion about it, but we just kind of like stopped talking to each other.
Hmm.
Like I served an LDS mission for 2 years, and basically haven't talked to anyone from my mission since then, and that's 15 years ago.
Hmm.
Wow. Can you tell us what LBS stands for?
Latter-day Saints, the full name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
They were more commonly known as Mormons, but the church has since shifted to wanting people to use the full name of the church as much as possible, just to make it a little bit more clear that they are a Christian denomination, even though there are many things about it theologically that other Christian groups may find heretical.
Interesting. And I think I know that. So then both um, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Episcopalians are Christian denominations. But then you said you also ventured into witchcraft for a while. If I know correctly, that's polytheistic, isn't it?
Correct. Yes. It, it was kind of an interesting story how the two worked together for me for a while, um, because my first exposure to um, witchcraft happened while I was in college. When I was at Utah State University, I was double majoring in anthropology and religious studies. And as part of the religious studies component, that was obviously exploring other faiths. Like I had attended a Muslim service, a Hindu service, did candle magic with a friend of mine that was Wiccan, um, took courses in indigenous shamanism, and have just been kind of letting myself piece all of that together and finding what works.
Wow, that's great. So you really
Right?
explored
is.
everything.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and what a better way to help everyone to be so well-rounded, to try and have, an understanding of so many different things. I can imagine that you would do great at helping people through their troubles.
And that's exactly what I'm looking to do. In a lot of my spare time, I read a lot of religious texts, just because I don't necessarily want to stick to just Mormonism. And it's like, if I do come across, say, an ex-Muslim or an ex-Catholic or something like that, I feel like it's my job to be familiar with their theology so I can empathize with them better.
Wow, that's great. And you also mentioned when you first began speaking the LGBTQ plus community. You are a member of that community?
Correct, I'm gay.
And um, when you first realized that, did that cause any difficult relationships for you?
Not necessarily, because it's like when I was still at home after I came out to my parents, it's like we just kind of, I mean, the LDS attitudes towards homosexuality and gender identity concerns are very much brush it under the rug,
Oh,
live the theology the best you can, and God will figure it out in the next life. And I just kind of, it never sat right to me, the things that they were asking me to do. Um, like either if you are gay, your options within the church are either celibacy or mixed orientation marriage. And it just never made sense to me to do either of those. It never felt like it was something that God would ask any of his children.
No one should ask you that. That should be your own choice, how you want to live your life.
It was God who created you, and God
Right.
created you the way that you are. How could there be a mistake in there?
Right.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think coming from an LDS viewpoint, the nuclear family is so central to theology. It's like you are required to be married. It's also called sealing in the LDS faith, to your heterosexual spouse for time and all eternity. They've been very adamant about the fact that marriage is between a man and a woman for a number of years, and have actually taken a great deal of political action to try to defend that and prevent same-sex marriage from being legalized, dating back to trying to intervene with the Hawaiian Supreme Court in 1995.
Wow. Wow. And especially in a Christian belief system, Jesus said, don't judge, do love.
Right.
So, whether it's orientation, color, gender, whatever it may be, God made you that way. How can, God doesn't make mistakes. So,
Exactly. Exactly. That's always been kind of a big um, thorn in my side as far as Christianity is. It's like the gospel of Christ is so profoundly simple. It's like Jesus said himself, this is the first great commandment in the law. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So
there you go. Right.
it's like it's that basic.
so we're supposed to be accepting everybody regardless.
How did we get so far off the mark?
I'm sorry to say, I think it's because several, maybe all religions, I don't know, have used the teachings to oppress and suppress and repress and, and for their benefit. And we've, I was raised very Catholic. I was raised in a very Catholic family, very Catholic area. I went to Catholic grade school. And so much of it was about not, this is what's right. Only this is what, these people are good. These people are right. These people are correct, but these people are not, and that's so not what we were taught, what we were supposed to be taught anyway.
Exactly. What we believe.
Yeah.
Right? What we believe.
And we were very, at least my family, we were a very judgmental family, and we didn't, we weren't very accepting, and it hurt my heart a lot. But fortunately, I've grown from that. So, but still, that area, I think a lot of people in that area are still not very accepting, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Was it difficult for you to go from religions that believed in a central God to exploring polytheism?
Not necessarily, because I think having a polytheistic theology, it makes more sense in my head. Because it's like, if you look at Greek mythology, for example, it's like you have Ares, the god of war, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, and it's like each deity has a specific job that somehow governs an aspect of human life, and it makes more logical sense to me than there is this singular, omnipotent, all-knowing being. Because I mean, one of the differences between Catholicism and Mormonism, for example, is they don't believe in the Trinity at all. They believe that God the Father, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit are three separate beings. So coming from a theology where it's like God is one exalted man and he's somehow in charge of everything, I'm like, he's got to be divine, otherwise he'd be having a mental breakdown, like, completely. So it just makes more sense to have a God for each aspect of human life.
Catholics have a kind of a version of that with the saints.
Right, exactly, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things I appreciated about Catholicism, because one of the stops I made after being an Episcopalian and eventually leaving for paganism entirely was in an independent Catholic church that revered the Pope as the Bishop of Rome, but didn't think he was any different than any of the other archbishops. And so it's like I had exposure to the saints and really enjoyed it. I've had beautiful experiences praying the rosary, but I mean, right now, that I think it's best for me health wise to just kind of take a step back and process right now before I make another religious commitment.
Well, it sounds like
okay.
you, yeah, absolutely. It sounds like
Nice.
you're very intuitive in that way.
Yeah, I try to be, like, especially as I've been going through this career transition from massage into hypnotherapy. um, I've started listening to my body a lot more. Like, do I need to call out of work? It's like, how is this particular experience making me feel? And when it's like, when I look back to things like witchcraft and the law of attraction, I get that sense of personal empowerment. There is a deity out there that wants to kind of have a truly cooperative relationship with me, versus when I was practicing Christianity, it's like I didn't get that sense from God. I really just kind of, a lot of the verbiage just bugs me, in the sense that it's like they're like, Jesus is going to rule over us. He is the king of creation. It's like, in Western society, we haven't believed that monarchies have any real power for 100 years. So it's like none of us have been raised with that true mindset of being under a monarchy, and yet it is so saturated within the Christian tradition that we're like, it's like, can we just change the lingo a little bit?
Yes, that would be great. Do you have a question, Jill?
No, I'm just thinking of what he's saying. I'm hoping that I felt like our last Pope made some good strides. I'm hoping Leo does some good work too. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope he picks up where Francis left off. I loved Pope Francis. I really did.
So did I. Yeah.
Well, he said some good things already. So,
Yeah, he has. And you know what? It's all about having faith in yourself to know that you're going to find the right way, having faith in something greater than you, whatever religion you choose or however you choose to do it. You know, that I think that helps us in our journey. So, you know, and helping other people find their way, being open and listening to people who are struggling with all kinds of different situations. That's a nice way to make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's exactly why. I mean, I think back to my very first partner, and he was also Mormon, because I mean, I started exploring my sexuality while I was living in Utah, so the odds of that happening were pretty high. And he'd mentioned that after he left the church, he became an atheist. And I was like, me still being religious, it's like I immediately started freaking out. I was like, if I were actually in any type of position of power within a religion, I would be freaking out over LGBT issues, because it's like, if that is causing people within any community to leave religion entirely, it's something that's got to change. I mean, we didn't stop dating, didn't really date long enough for me to discuss much with him about his process and his journey from Mormonism to atheism. But I feel like there's a lot to be explored, and within the context of people that choose to leave a faith, as far as like, what is the thought process that you go to before you make peace with how you were raised?
That's a great question.
It is, yeah.
I think often you have to do that for yourself. You know, people think if you've done something bad to me and I say I forgive you, that's letting you off the hook. But really, it's letting me off the hook, because then I don't have to carry around that burden of whatever it was that was done to me.
That's holding you down. That's
Yeah.
keeping you from finding happiness. And it's a hard thing to do, right? I mean, it's a hard thing to do, but that's something we can work on. Those are the little things that we can work on every day that, will make that difference. I pick and choose. I do. Just like Chris said, I go to church every week. I like it. It makes me feel good. It gives me time to reflect and listen. And I don't believe a lot of what the church stands for anymore, but I adjust. I guess I adjust. I still have faith and I believe, but I think they need to come out of the dark ages. That's pretty much it. How's that? Come on, get with the program. Let's go. Love everybody. That's what we're all about.
Absolutely. That's it. Don't judge, do love. And if going to church helps you feel like you're having your relationship with God, I think that's what works for you. And for
Right.
somebody else, it might be not going to the church, going to, a hike or something like that,
Or being kind to your neighbor.
being kind to your neighbor.
Exactly. You don't have to go to church. You don't.
Right.
And I say that to my children who no longer go to church. God is not something that you have to go every Sunday and then you run your neighbor over because you want that parking spot. You have to be a kind person. Make those choices before you react, maybe before you're angry with someone over a parking spot, or take a breath and think about, I don't know, being kind.
Yes. Yes.
But it's sad that you go from religion all the way to being an atheist. That's a big jump. You know what I mean? It's good that that's something that you're interested in helping people make some stops along the way. See some other options, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things to me. Like, I have been mulling this in my head for about the last decade. And at least with where I'm at as far as my mental state right now, I don't have the mental capacity to picture my life without some sort of spirituality. Between like the mystical experiences that I had while I was exploring shamanism and witchcraft, even in the context of practicing, being a practicing Episcopalian, that was still there. It's like the clairvoyant experiences that I had, like, just keep me having an unshakable faith that there is something out there, that there is a higher power, or the possibility that maybe like the whole clairvoyant experience, at least when they're just for me, is a part of my brain saying, hey, you still need this as part of your life.
Right. And sometimes I think atheism happens as a result of anger. And it's more that they are angry at what they believe to be God or whatever they may call it. And so, at least in some of the cases of people I've known who've said that they were atheists, that was the case. They were angry at something that had happened, and how could there be a God if that thing happened?
Oh, yeah, you can't ask that because how many terrible, terrible things go on, and people say, "How could you believe?" And these 3 children just got killed, or this, or tsunami comes and wipes out a whole town, and dumbing it all the way down to the lowest level. I can explain it to my grandkids is I believe that we are given everything to be the best person we can be, and how we make those choices. I don't think someone's saying you go right, you go left, you do this, you do. You know what I mean? I think we're given the tools, and it's our gift to figure out a way, whether it's witchcraft or Catholicism or whatever it is. Nothing. And you have to make peace with it and be your best person doing it. And I think that's what it's all about.
It's
Really.
I definitely agree, because it's like it's like I do know of some atheists. Like one of my favorite ex-Mormon podcasts that I follow is called Zelf on the Shelf, and
I like
they're
that.
both atheist, made the leap from Mormonism to atheism. They haven't talked about whether or not they've made stops along the way, but they don't give me angry atheist vibes at all. It seemed, at least for them, it was a very very intellectual process. They talk a lot about how they've studied the contradictions of the Bible, this, that, and the other, and they're just like, we don't really see how that works for us. But it's like it's kind of funny how I'm like on the opposite end of the spectrum, because it's like my anger at the LDS manifestation of God is kind of keeping me religious, because it's like I still have so many questions that, I mean, if they are right about what happens in the next life, I'm just gonna look at God and just be like,
That's
pardon
so
my
many
language,
questions.
but the fuck.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, do you have anything else you would like to add?
No.
All right. So when somebody decides that they would like to contact you for, to see your YouTube channel or for hypnotherapy or whatever it may be, how can somebody contact you?
Right now, the best best way to contact me is either by email, havenwellnessseattle@gmail.com, or just by phone, um, 385-254-4964. I'm still working through the logistics of getting my website together and all of that, but that should be up in the next couple of days or so.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for
Excellent.
joining us.
Really, thank you so much. It was very informative. I liked it.
Yes, and very different too.
Yeah.
And so this has been another episode of A Better World with Julann and Fran. Please like and share this video, and join us again next week.
Take care. Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you both so
Thank
much.
you.